The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
This is Cowboys StoryLine with Nick Eatman.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Cowboys StoryLine. I am Nick Eatman here. Tuesday, May the 7th. Not much is going on, really, around the Cowboys front right now, but still always things to talk about. I think we could do a show in the middle of June, early July, when there's really nothing going on. But, you know, when it's Cowboys and it's 24/7 news, it can break at any time. So, you know, it'll be fun to see what you guys come up with. But as far as, you know, this is kind of this no man's land from the draft to the players coming in later this week. They'll be here this week, the rookies will, for a rookie minicamp. Then after that, the OTAs will you know, get cranking, and then a minicamp. And that's kind of for the next, I would say, 5 to 6 weeks here. But really about 4 weeks because things will end in early June. And then there really will be nothing going on. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about whatever y'all want. 888-855-2297. That's the number to call. You can text us, 817-290-3298. Let's start off in Miami. We got Anthony. What's up?
What's up, Nick the Quick? What's up, my guy?
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
I heard the monologue, and I agree with you on all of that. But it's always something to talk about.
Always.
As we know with our Cowboys, you know, everybody, TV pundits, Cowboy fans, haters, lovers, they got a thing on what they want the Cowboys to be, what they should be, what they lack in, you know. So I'm sitting around, and I love my I'm Cowboys for life. I'm biased to the end, you know. I'll critique, but I won't criticize. But I looked up something. I remember coming up with an acronym, DAC, discipline, accountability, consistency. So I said, let me come up with something on what I see this year with a lame duck coach, I guess, two coaches basically, some players that may not be there or whatever. So what kind of year could this be? I still believe the Cowboys can win 11 games. And this is how they can do it. If you brought Coach Mike Zimmer, they know the history of this man. You're gonna require something like a mentality, right? A mental, physical toughness, a mindset. So I came up with this thing called M squared, both Mikes. You got Coach Mike, who's supposed to be tough, the head coach, McCarthy from Pittsburgh, all this stuff. Supposed to be a tough-nosed guy. He looks it, but is he really? Is he instilling this stuff in his players? And I know it's a one-year kind of trial thing, but I think an NFC championship visit will solve a lot of problems, right? So you go M squared. So you go M squared for the two Coach Mikes, one on offense, one on defense. You go M squared mentality and mindset. People would think mentality and mindset is the same thing. No, it's two different things. Mentality is kind of like the total sum of it. The mindset.
I'm about to check out with all this math talk here. I'm about to check out, really. Like, I'm just serious. So math, M squared, sum, parts. What? How about the point?
No, but
how about points?
The point is what it comes down to is a mindset of toughness, mental toughness, and physical toughness. The team has to get tougher. The discipline, of course, we all know. We know we're lacking that. You know, the Sam Williams stuff and guys like that with all this potential, but just have these disciplinary problems. If we get this mindset and this toughness, and hopefully they instill that, I don't care what they go out there with. They got a good team. You fill some voids. So go out there with that. How about let's instill that, and let's see what this Cowboy team can do. Sorry I had to go the long way, but I had to kind of get back to that to make that point. So that's basically what I'm looking for.
Okay. Thanks for the call, Anthony. I'm not sure you had to do that. I'm not sure he had to go through the math class there in algebra 101, or just saying they need to be tough. I mean, tough. Zimmer's a tough guy. McCarthy's a tough guy. These coaches, they're on a 1-year deal. You know what? They gotta put the team on their back and out tough these guys. You know, I don't know. Sorry, math was never my thing, and you had me going there. But I think the point you're trying to say is that this is a good football team. They're going to have to figure out something else. And look at the schedule. I mean, if there's ever a division that is always tough, it's the AFC North. They're tough. Those are tough teams. Baltimore's tough. Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati. You have to be when you're playing each other, and that's the division the Cowboys are playing in the AFC. And then you got first place schedule with the other games you're playing. You're playing first place teams in with Houston and San Francisco, Detroit. Detroit looks like a tough team. So this team's got to be tough. And so I think that's what you're trying to say, and you're not wrong. You're not wrong by that. That's one thing this team has to do. They can't get pushed around. If you look at the draft, they did draft some guys that were bigger, some stronger, guys that could play in the trenches, the guys that did a lot of pushing around in college. They'll see if they can do that in the pros. All right, Tim in Grapevine, good to hear from you. Tim, what's up?
My guy, good afternoon. Been a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. We have lists of who's on the all StoryLine team, and we're seeing if we got their addresses and stuff. And so some of these people we haven't heard from in a while since the last loss. We're like, hope everything's okay. So it's good to hear from you. You're not the only one.
Hey, I'm glad I made first team All Pro. I appreciate it.
Well, I mean, you got some work to do if you're going to do it again. I mean, I haven't heard from you in a while. Some of these guys.
Hey, my shirt size might be small, but don't let that fool you. I got a big heart. All right.
All right, sounds good. Yeah.
No, I was licking my wounds. It took me a good while this year, I'll be honest.
Fair.
Yeah. I went through that phase of I'm watching war movies and documentaries. I'm listening to Winston Churchill speeches, classical, male stuff. That's the way I heal, at least.
All right.
Some gardening, lawn work, and then the draft happens. That was like the uplift I needed. The hope has been restored. I'm starting to get back into it. And then last weekend, I went to the Star in Frisco, and if anyone hasn't been there that's listening, if you need to pick me up when it comes to the Cowboys, if you go to the Star in Frisco and walk around, take a tour or whatever, eat at Concrete Cowboy, I promise you'll be feeling a million times better about the Cowboys. So speaking of that, Nick, I wanted to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you have any cool stories about your time at the Star? Or maybe even Oxnard, because that's coming up soon, too.
Cool stories from Oxnard and the Star?
Oxnard or the Star, yeah, and I'll hang up.
All right. All right. Good to hear from you, Tim. Let me think about that for a second. But, I'll say this, and I've had to use this line a couple of times. They do a lot of tours around here, and we're walking through the hall, and you'll see a tour, and there'll be a lot of people, and they're loud, and sometimes, and some of the tours that are at certain places of the building, you actually hear a lot because you walk past it a lot. So you hear the script and their spiel and all that stuff. And so, yeah, sometimes, people will say certain things about the tours and all that. But my line is always this. Don't forget you work at a place where they give tours. I mean, just imagine where other people, your friends, your wife, your husband, whatever, wherever they work, and you're like, do they give a tour there? People show up to, and so just to put it in perspective, not to be that guy, because I understand life happens and you get annoyed by little things. I know I'm the same way, but you got to remember the big picture. Like you work at a place where people come in and pay to go walk around where you work. Don't forget that. So that's something that I've always thought of. I mean, God, I need a whole show for like Oxnard stories or I couldn't even tell you. I mean, I guess the one that always comes to mind because it was strange. First of all, you remember the day. You can count on one hand really how many times it's rained in Oxnard. I mean, it just doesn't rain. And so when it does, and I feel like last year it did a couple of times, but for the most part, it really just hasn't. But I do remember one year, and Chris probably remembers this because I remember us talking about it. It was just pouring sheets of rain, and it was so shocking. But the big news of the day was that we had this rookie wide receiver who was really doing well. He was doing well. He was making headway. He was going to make the team, no doubt about it. And he just quit. He quit the team. He left, went home, and I couldn't take it anymore. And his name was Cole Beasley, and he was done. Something was happening back home, and never really got the full story on it, but what happened? And, and that's happened before. But this one, Jerry was like, well, hold up now. Let's call this guy up and let's find out what's happening. And I think by the time he landed back in Dallas, they were already on the phone with him, and they said, no, you need to come on back. Let's fix whatever it is, what's happening, whatever issue is. We can overcome it. You're doing well. You're going to make this football team. I don't think anyone thought he's going to have a 12, 13-year career, but, he definitely did. But I remember that day just because I remember it pouring rain, which was weird. And then it's like, I got something even crazier. And I think Chris was involved too. I think Chris was the one who told me. I'm not even sure, but I feel like you did.
Probably did.
Yeah. Chris is always coming up with stuff. Like he's plugged in now. He's always telling me stuff. So I feel like you did. And then I went and asked a couple other people about it. But yeah, I do remember you telling me that. But that's just the story that always pops up because it was just unique. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's awesome. The reason why you go out there is to get, the weather is unbelievable. And you don't call home and you say, man, it was a little cold this morning. You don't do that because it's like mid-July here in Texas and everyone's sticking to their car, But no, it's awesome. I could do a whole story on, stories from Oxnard. Maybe I will.
Quincy Carter and his cereal.
Quincy Carter. Yeah, I mean, if Chris Beam was going to do his own, show, he would. Yeah, he hid in the bushes and got a video of Quincy Carter eating cereal as he got cut. That happened. We should have the video. I don't know. We have the video.
I need to load it up somewhere.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll say this: the first 2 years we went to Oxnard, it was in 2001. And then 2004. Those were the first 2 years we went to Oxnard. And both years, the starting quarterback got cut in the middle of camp and, was kicked out of camp. Both times. Your starter, not
and
just
I got shots of
quarterback.
both of them.
Tony Banks was the first one, and the second one was Quincy Carter. So
Tony Banks was cool about it. I followed him all the way to the front. With his rolling his bag to the front.
Yeah, I was back there too. I don't remember him being that cool with it, but maybe cool with you filming it. Okay.
Right.
All right. Let's get it rolling here. Let's go to Bruce in Houston. Bruce, what's up?
Hey, Nick. God, when you say those two quarterbacks' names, if that was our starting quarterback, that tells us a lot about her. We don't even need to know the record of those years, but I'm sure it was bad. But
5-11 on a couple of them. Yeah.
Was that the Campo era when he was the coach?
Yeah, for Tony Banks, and then Parcells was the coach for Quincy.
Was he? Okay.
For Quincy,
right.
yeah.
I didn't get a chance to visit with you about the draft. I think they did well. I was going to ask you if Brooks would have been there at 56. I know he went 46 to Carolina or something like that.
Yeah.
Had he been there, because I didn't know nothing about Neyland,
Yeah.
You think they would have picked Brooks there at 56? I know Jerry talked about him quite a bit.
Probably. I would think so. I mean, that's the one thing that's kind of getting lost in this is that, the Cowboys, they had needs for running backs. I mean, on their 30 visit, they brought in, I think, 5 or 6, maybe more than that. So they definitely were looking at backs. It just didn't work out for, So, yeah.
And I agree. I mean, don't reach. I mean, I guess they could have done it at 87. Jalen Wright was still there and some other guys, but they had him. They stayed true to their board, like they said they did. And I'm fine with that because, like Mick was saying in another segment, that they draft sometimes 2 years out,
right.
like with Lawrence possibly being his last year. Well, that's where Neyland comes in.
Right.
Hey, you get behind him and you follow him everywhere except to the crapper, and do everything he does.
Yeah.
So you're ready after year one because it is a huge learning curve for these young guys. But I think they did good. I love the BB pick. And even if he doesn't start as center, if Hoffman beats him, well, then that just shows you how good Hoffman is. There's your right guard right there when Martin retires.
Exactly.
Or,
there you go.
Or does whatever.
There you go,
so
Bruce.
I like what they've done there. And you couldn't fix everything. Everybody says, well, you didn't fix the defensive line. Well, my Lord, you can't fix it all in one draft. It's going to take several drafts. But getting Neyland, he's better at probably run tackling, so there's your help there. And then I just hope they don't re-sign Dak before. I would let him play out. I really would.
Yeah.
And if he takes us to the championship game, well, then it's going to cost us $65 million to re-sign him if you want to do that. But to me, he's got to show me he can do that, and I hadn't seen it. So I don't know how you feel about that, but
that's always a tough one. I try to avoid that question, honestly.
I know.
No, I do, because it's just so tricky, and it's no offense to anybody. It's so hard. It's harder to have that mindset than you think, because you're trying to put a team together and you're trying to go win right now. All in. Do we believe? I believe in you. You believe in me. All this cool. All right. What about next year's contract? Well, hold up about that. And that's the same with McCarthy. It's the same with Zimmer. It's the same. It's the same with a lot of these guys. And that's what makes it kind of weird. It's like, hey, we're in.
Right.
Let's go. Band of brothers. Let's go win this thing. And it's like, yeah, but you're not committing to me long term. And you're like, what? I didn't hear you. What? Let's go win. So that's just the way it goes. But
and us spoiled fans, I mean, look, if we had it our way, it'll never happen this way. But wouldn't it be cool if everybody was on a 1-year term? Hell, pay them all $5 million. That's a good chunk of money. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then pay them incentives. If you're a left tackle, if you don't allow any sacks, well, you get bonuses. Quarterbacks over 300-yard games, touchdown. You could use the stats, however, to give them bonuses. We as fans would see some awesome, do it in all sports. We see some sports, because how many times have you seen a player on a contract year just play lights out, and you're like, dude, where have you been? And then the next year, nada, or at least he don't play as, he plays 80%. That's what frustrates us as fans, but we'll never see that, of course.
But I'll say this, though, and you're not wrong. I don't know if the guy plays as different as you think he does. I think a lot of fans have different mentalities on the player. I mean, once that guy gets that contract, now they go into a complete different level. Now the expectations are absolutely through the roof. I don't know if the player changes as much. I go back all the way back to the days when Marion Barber got a deal and Terrence Newman got a deal and Greg Ellis got a deal. And, they don't play that different. It's just that you just think, they were so underpaid before. And so now when they get that money, because think of it like this. Dak does whatever he does. It's like, this guy makes $40 million a year and that's how he plays.
Right.
Nobody says that when he's going to the Pro Bowl making $2 million. No one says that. They're like, he only makes $2 million a year, and he made the Pro Bowl. Congrats! No one does that. So I just think it's the expectations more than anything. And you're right. There's times where a player doesn't play as well, but I don't know if it's because he's got it paid, he's coasting, as the expectations go to a different stratosphere.
No, you're absolutely. And look, we're the ones that we're spoiled. We think we're just so jealous. Wish we were 6'4" and could throw it 80 yards too, but I'm not, and you have to deal with that. But what I love that they finally did was, I think it was Bradford was the quarterback from Oklahoma was the last one that held out as the rookie quarterback. Mm-hmm. He got like $50 million signing bonus, hadn't thrown a first down yet. So when they finally did that rookie pool, that was the smartest thing they ever did, and diverted quite a bit of that money to the veterans who certainly deserved it because they put the time in. So that was awesome that they're doing. And is it correct? After you have to be a minimum, is it 4 years or 6 years you're in the league, then you're on some pension deal? I don't know about that, but I've heard something about that.
Yeah,
but
it's like
anyway,
4 seasons.
Good show, Nick.
All right,
have
thanks.
a good week, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Bruce. All right. And I'll say this using him as an example. The Bruce was able to call in, I guess, Dr. Chris. He got some shirt size for the all StoryLine team. I know I've been talking about it a while. I know you guys that didn't make it probably are like enough about it, but we're trying to get this is our last time. This is the last day. If you haven't sent in your shirt size, your name, address, we're sending them out. We're gonna have a lot left over. So we've got probably only half of them. Half of you guys have done that. So, but here's a guy that has. He's the only one that I don't think he's called, but he texts a lot. So he made the team. Dan in Philly. He says the Cowboys generally have done a good job finding quality undrafted free agents in the past. Of the ones signed this year, who do you think has the best opportunity to make the team and contribute? And his past Cowboys, Tony Romo, who ironically was one of those guys, which I'm sure is not a coincidence. I'm sure that's what he meant. I don't honestly. I haven't really gone there yet to look, and I should. They'll be here in the next few days. I think there's honestly. I haven't even looked at the names yet. I just hear about a tight end from Minnesota who's supposedly really good. I'd have to go check on the name like that. I let Nick Harris, Patrick Walker, they handle all that. They got the tracker of the guys coming in and that have signed and all that stuff. I haven't even looked at that, and I should, because you're exactly right. I mean, like, there are some really good players over the years. The Cowboys have done a really good job. Last year, I think their two best rookies on the team last year were both undrafted. Now that really says more about the actual picks, that they didn't have good years. But your best rookies were probably Hunter Lipke and TJ Bass. Jalen Brooks was okay. Didn't play a ton, but I mean, Schoonmaker played. But for the level of where he was. But so yeah, they'll get some undrafted guys. They'll be here Thursday. We'll have a show on Thursday, and so we'll have a better idea there. Past Cowboy Tony Romo. Yeah. Trying to work on a project with Tony right now, so would like for him to be a current Cowboy, not to play on the team, but I would like to talk to him more. Got a lot of stories on Romo. I mean, just off the field things, you know. I mean, I was a caddy for him for 3 holes one time during a golf tournament. Had to caddy for him. Played flag football on the same flag football team. Chris Beam did as well. You know, he was a great quarterback. He was actually a better defensive player. There's all kinds of stories with Tony. That's another show as well. Let's get to a caller here. Chuck D in Bridge City, Texas.
What's going on, Nick?
Hey, Chuck.
Hey, I just want to say I've been calling. This is probably my 4th time, and you made the off storyline. People that don't call have to understand it's hard to get on. You got to be persistent. And
no, yeah.
So if they get a shirt, hey, they deserve it. They deserve it.
They deserve it. Yeah. No, I want them. I want them to get it. I want them to collect. Now, I appreciate that. I know it takes a lot to get in, and it surprises me how there are certain people that call almost every show, and you're like, how does this happen? You know, but there's no special number. There's no secret number. Maybe Chris is calling them. I don't know.
You just got to call, hang up. You got to keep doing it, and finally it'll ring, and you're like, all right, I'm on.
Yeah.
I don't have time to call people. I'm sorry.
No. All right. So what's up, Chuck?
So what I was going to say, I was going to go a different direction, but people keep talking about Romo and Dak. I believe it was when Romo did his football life, Darren Woodson was talking about when he was doing scout team, They knew that he was the best quarterback on the team.
Yeah.
They could just see it. But you being in the building, have you heard any rumblings of them saying Trey Lance has shown anything last year? I mean, it's so quiet. You don't hear that he's got a big arm. Is he fast? I mean, we don't know anything about him.
Yeah. No, I don't. I haven't heard that story. And truth be told, listen, I love Darren Woodson more than any other media guy loves. Woody's the best. But I will say that, like, that story is easier to tell now. You know, and I'm not saying he didn't feel that way, because was he better than Quincy? Was he better than Clint Sterner? Was he better than Anthony Wright? I mean, I don't even remember who all was here in that season in 2003, but Hutchinson. So it's like, is he better than those guys? Okay, and I could see that, but you know, sometimes these stories, as the years go on, they're like, you could see it right away. You know, I mean, Romo had some ability, but he also was careless with the ball, and he was a gunslinger, you know, he was doing these things, worked when he was at Eastern Illinois. They didn't work in the NFL. But I do remember Dat Wynn and Dexter Coakley kind of saying that this guy would play with his eyes. He'd look off, he'd look here, and then throw it over here, and that they weren't used to that. So he was doing some things early on. I haven't heard of things like that about Trey Lance, but then again, you know, those stories didn't come out right then. They came out when Romo was a baller, and then now those are good stories. You didn't really hear them so much at the time. You didn't hear those stories, so that's kind of why we're not hearing it now.
Okay, well, I figured if he was lighting it up, you'd already heard something, but it's quiet. It's like he's not even on the team, really.
Well, he's on the team. He's on the team, and he's doing stuff. We'll see. I think that this is going to be a great preseason for him. It's a great opportunity to kind of see some stuff in preseason, and we'll see a little bit more in training camp. Remember, he wasn't at training camp. Let's don't forget that part. We see 15 minutes of practice, and half of that they're stretching. So that's what we see during the season. We've never seen Trey Lance during a training camp. He wasn't here. He was only been here during the season. So the media hasn't really gotten a chance to really see him do much of anything. Let's let some OTA practices happen, some mini camps, training camp, and of course the preseason game. We'll all have a better understanding of what he's doing.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
I've seen a little short video of Deuce Vaughn working out, and he looks quick. I'm just wondering, what is he going to have to do this year to get more playing time? Because his size is his size, but what does he have to show to get on the field more?
He's got to break tackles. I mean, he's got to break tackles is what he's got to do. He's got to be able to, be quick, do all those things, but he's got to work on that strength to break some tackles. Everyone's going to be bigger. Everyone's going to have the leverage, but he's got to, he's got to be able to shed that. And he was doing that some in the preseason. That's what kind of sparked everything early. But, a lot of those guys he played against probably did not make NFL rosters. Let's be honest about that. So once they got bigger, stronger, faster, the holes, they closed a lot quicker and they tackled a lot better. So that's what he's got to prove, But I'm sure he didn't set the world on fire his freshman year at Kansas State. He got to get better, and then by his senior year, he was unbelievable. So that's what he's got to continue to do.
Okay, Nick.
All right.
Appreciate
See you,
it.
Chuck. All right. We got another text question. This is actually no question. This is just Steve Williams from Charlotte, North Carolina. I toured the Star last year, 5 days before the regular season. Saw you walking down the stairs. You nodded. Surreal moment, and I just wanted to say thank you. Cool. Sorry I didn't give a wave or a high five or anything like that, so apologize for that. But, say hi. That's cool. You know what, though? That's not really – I think they tell the people that in the tours. They don't be talking to people, unless they talk to you, so don't bother anyone. But anyways, no, all good. Maybe come back again, and we'll chat it up. All right, speaking of chatting it up, this guy, Randy from Texarkana.
Man, if I cross paths with you, I'm hugging your neck right in front of everybody. I don't care.
You don't care? Okay, cool.
If I can get that out right. Yeah, sitting there eating a burrito on lunch break and heard story time on StoryLine. I was like, man, I want to get in on this stuff. I kind of like it when y'all tell stories. It doesn't always have to be about players and all that good stuff. So
not in May, early May like this.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. I'm about to ask you about the burrito. What do we?
It's just a regular old Walmart frozen burrito, microwave, nothing special.
Okay.
It's technically chimichanga, but I call them all burritos. They look like burritos.
Cool. All right, what do you got,
Yeah.
Randy?
All right, so I want to get in on story time. It's I was kind of enjoying your little stories there. So if y'all want to throw one out there as soon as I get done with mine, that'd be cool. I don't have nothing about the players and stuff, so. Just you're around celebrities all the time, so it's going to be really hard for you to come up with one unless you've got one. But I've got two quick stories, if you don't mind me telling them.
All right, go for it.
About celebrities, and I'll go in age here. My first one, Arlington Stadium, right next to the Sheraton, the original Rangers Stadium. Me and my buddy, it was right before my 9th grade, I believe, going into high school. My grandmother took me and my best friend up to see a Rangers game. Well, we got there the day before the game was scheduled, and back then, I don't know how they do it now, but back then they would do the batting practice and all that the day before, and they actually had the field open where you could go in there and watch them. And there was this one cat, I don't know if you'll even remember who I'm going to refer to. He played for the Royals by the name of Bo Jackson. Yeah. Well, he's actually not the nicest guy in person. I don't know what his problem was, but, man, he was being extremely mean to us kids, and he wouldn't talk to us. He wouldn't acknowledge us, any of that stuff. And there was other players around and all that, and they kind of saw it going on. So I was like, well, that changed my appetite for him, And So later on that day, we go back, and we're staying at the Sheraton, which is right across the street, and I believe that thing is still standing there. And
Yeah.
me and my buddy, we go out there to the pool, and we notice there's a handful of grown-up guys sitting over there laying out in the sun. And we kind of over there by them, and one of them whistles at us, tells us to come over there, and I'm not doing anything. We walk over there, and there's a fella sitting there by the name of Brett Saberhagen.
Mm-hmm.
He was a pitcher, and turns out it was the entire pitching crew of the Royals was sitting out there by the pool, and they told us that they saw what happened, and they wanted to make it up to us, and we got to hang out with them for the rest of the day. They gave us their door pass to go to the bar for them. Here I was, 14, 15 years old, and we're going after drinks for them and stuff.
Nice.
And we're hanging out. Man, we got all kinds of pictures. We're hanging out with the baseball players and all that stuff. And they gave us hats and a jersey. It was a really cool thing, man, for a kid,
Yeah.
And that's just something I'll never forget.
That's cool.
And that's that story. And one more story real quick. Doesn't have anything to do with sports, but it does with rock and roll. Hair bands. I was probably 18, 19, and we went to go see Warrant, Firehouse, and Trickster in Shreveport, Louisiana. And back then there was on the Bossier side, there was a hotel/bar called Vertigo's. And that's where everybody went back then. And you could actually drink at the age of 18 back then. So that's where we all went. Well, anyway, after the concert, we go to the bar because we had a room there as well. And we're standing in the bar and we're hanging out. Well, this guy comes over the PA and says that we're going to have some A-list people in the place. Please give them their space. Don't mess with them, this, that, and the other. And so next thing we know, it's them. It's Warrant. It's Firehouse. It's all of them. They've come to the bar to party that night. And so we're standing over there against the wall just watching them in awe. Here we are. We were at concert watching them just, a couple hours ago. They're right there. Well, the bass player for Warrant, he's got big hair, big eyebrows, just real noticeable guy. He turns and looks directly at me and just starts walking straight at me. And I'm looking over at my wife, and I'm looking at her cousin. I'm like, is this joker really walking over here? And he just kept on coming. And he walks right up to me and asked me where my pizza is. And I'm like, your pizza? And he was like, yeah, are you not the Domino's pizza guy? Dude, I had on a off-colored blue, off-colored red striped shirt. And it just happened to be the same color as the Domino's pizza shirt back then. And so he thought I was the pizza guy. I had to break the news to him. But he wasn't upset. He got a big laugh out of it. And the next thing you know, they've got us over there at the pool table with all of them. And here I am, an 18, 19-year-old, and I'm hanging out with rock stars, and I've got all the pictures to prove it, too. We hung out with them all night long. And that's just two occasions where I got to, hang out with some superstars, and it's something I'll go to the grave with. I'll never forget it unless I get, some kind of a brain disease, and I'll remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
But I thought that was pretty cool. So there's my story time on StoryLine. And
All right.
Do y'all have one? You or Chris got one you'd like to share?
All right. Appreciate it, Randy. Yeah, I was born in Shreveport, so I spent my first year of my life there. Don't remember it, but I did. That's a fun fact about me. I don't know if I'm sure I have a story like that, but I can't really think of it off the top. But yeah, that's funny you say that about the Kansas City Royals. That's the team I actually followed when I was younger, because where I lived in Oklahoma, that's the only teams we would watch were them and the Cardinals. And so, I saw the first stadium I ever went to was Kansas City Royals. The stadium might be Kauffman now, but man, that was a beautiful park. I had fountains in the outfield. I thought that was the coolest place. And I remember Bo Jackson being a rookie and being a good young player. I didn't know anything about that story. I was kind of hoping that Bo Jackson was going to come over and kind of, make amends to everything, but that didn't happen in the story. All right. Well, that's what you get in May 7th StoryLine. You're going to get stories like that. So, all right, let's see if Travis in San Antonio's got some Cowboy stuff going on, or do you have a story to top that?
I don't have a story to top that. I'll stay in my lane and let Randy do those stories.
Yeah. Well, what do you got? You got regular old Cowboy football question?
Yeah, just the nonsense stuff.
That's good too.
I just wanted to say, I know you were talking about Brevin Spanford earlier. There have been some people that put out some film on him already and got to watch him a little bit. He reminds me of Mercedes Lewis. When McCarthy was with the Packers.
Yeah.
He's more of a blocker. People are talking about, I've even heard Broadus talk about, he's one of those guys that he's like 260, 270 that you could maybe start him as a tight end and they could possibly see if he could develop even into a tackle maybe.
Yeah.
But I like him as a tight end just as that he's more of that traditional. I think what kept him out of being drafted was he ran a slow 40 and he's an older guy, like a little older of a guy.
Mm-hmm.
But doesn't mean tight end, it's not as big of a deal, right? Because he's a big guy. We know a tight end that we had here that wasn't the fastest that got open. So
True.
I'm not super worried about that.
Yeah.
But I am curious to see how he does. I think he's, we talk about it's almost like having him in. He's a really good run blocker, but having him in on some of those, packages or whatever to get some space for guys, he's basically like an extra offensive lineman.
Yeah.
So I do like that. And then I think one of the callers was talking about Trey. The reason, I know last week you mentioned it might be tough to still kind of figure out if he's, how he's playing, whatever, in the preseason. But I actually think, Nick, the secret benefit to what they did with the offensive line this year, I actually think this might be also one of the better, second units they've had in a long time as far as, backups that are playing in the preseason. Because you're going to have Beebe at guard, you're going to have Hoffman at center, you're going to have Bass at guard, and then you're going to have probably Awesome playing left, and then, maybe Nathan Thomas, the rookie, playing right. So I actually think the offensive line is going to give him a chance to be able to show us. It's not like other years where we're like,
True.
I mean, you snap the ball and you're like, oh crap, watch out.
Right. It's just running for your life. That's a good point. And they'll have some of those guys that they want to see too. And I'll throw a name in. Earl Bostic, a tackle that's been there all year. I mean, guys like that they're going to want to evaluate as well. So that's a good point. You got some runners back there. You'll have some running backs that Malik Davis, Deuce, maybe Snoop Connor. Guys like that. So
and that was my last point. Was I wanted to see what you think, but I know that's been talked about. I'm not buying into the Najee Harris rumors and all that type of stuff. They may throw out maybe later on they'll throw out a pick, for somebody, but I do think the running back rotation, at least I want to see what you think about this. I think to start the year, I kind of see two power backs for one spot and then Deuce as the changeup, kind of like how Pollard was. So whether it's Dowdle and Zeke kind of starting the game, kind of hammer teams, and then you can sort of bring in Deuce to kind of be the kind of get loose and get him in space kind of guy. He could be the changeup. Or if it's, for some reason, knock on wood, and hopefully nothing that happens to Dowdle, but if it's Freeman and Zeke, I just kind of see two power backs for one spot, and then maybe Deuce is the changeup, and just want to see what you thought.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
All right, you too. That is kind of what they did with Pollard. But everybody's got to be able to do everything too, though. It's not like baseball where I'm the starter, then I'm the setup guy, and I'm the closer. I mean, when you get out there, everybody's got to be able to be the short yardage guy at times. You got to be able to be a home run hitter if you can. You got to be able to catch, you got to be able to block. So if not, then if you're just out to do one thing, then I think defenses obviously pick up on that. So I understand the point. Get these guys. And as the power backs, and then kind of loosen things up. And if that works, that's fine. But I think Deuce is still he's a long ways away from even being that guy. He's going to have to show some big improvements this year. I still think something different's going to happen at running back. I don't know if there's a different guy, a trade, or them signing someone. I don't think this is what it's going to be going into the season. I'll be surprised if it's just that. We'll see some kind of change one way or another. So that's why I'm a little hesitant. I can't expand on that. I'm just a little hesitant on saying this is how things are going to go because I just don't think that they're done at that position. I don't. Sorry. All right. Let's go to Rob in Vegas.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Rob. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm looking at I think everybody's talking about Beebe, and I like him as a trade, but he's never played center.
Right.
So that's the only thing that worries me. I mean, you're learning on the job. That's a tough position to learn.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that worries me. But I do like his attitude. I mean,
can I tell you one thing about that? I mean, what do you think, other than, obviously you got to be tough and athletic, but what else do you have to be to play center? I mean,
you got to be smart.
Okay.
You got to make the calls.
Okay. Well, this guy was a finalist for the Academic Heisman Award. Okay. The Academic Heisman. He was a finalist for it. So.
No,
that's good.
That's great. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I got told that the other day, and I thought, oh wow, that's because you got to have that to be a center. And he practiced a lot at center during the COVID years. Getting ready for games, he would practice at center. He would spend all summers at Kansas State at center. So hasn't played in the game, but it's not as foreign to him as you think. So that's all I'm going to say.
Then it sounds like he definitely could do it.
I think he could. He may not be ready right now, but I mean, and Hoffman's going to bring it now. I mean, Hoffman will have something for that competition. I'm just curious how you have really healthy competition on the offensive line, but you also want to build continuity at the same time. It's not just one you can just rotate guys in and out, but that's what we're going to see. Trust me, I'm going to say this for everyone. Everyone is going to be seeing in the OTAs, all the media guys are going to write left to right. It was this guy at center. This guy did this snaps. And they're just trying out a bunch of things. They're trying to see who can do what. But you'll see these little these depth chart type text messages, and everyone's going to be calling and saying, why they got him playing guard so much, and when they're really just trying to, figure it all out. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think on paper that the team should be good. The only thing that worries me is what's the locker room going to be like. You got a lot of guys on one-year contracts. You got guys that may not get paid before the season starts. What's the attitude? And honestly, it would be interesting. Hopefully this doesn't happen. Is what happens if this team gets off to a bad start? It's a much tougher schedule. I mean, last year, out of their 12 wins, they only had 4 against playoff teams. And, we're already going in with uncertainty with coaches and players. You get off to a bad start. I mean, is there a fire sale? I don't know. It's gonna be wild, but I'm excited. We're talking about stories, and we don't really talk about this guy much, but Bill Parcells, to me, had the greatest press conferences.
Yeah.
I could not wait when he would have them. They would usually come on about noon or so Vegas time, and he would sit at that table and
crunch his ice. He would crunch ice.
Yep.
And just yeah.
And the lines that he would come up with were just so funny, especially maybe because I'm from New York, he's from Jersey.
Yeah.
Just his attitude. I thought that 30 minutes, 40 minutes was great. Every day I couldn't wait. How did you feel when you were there live?
Loved it. He made everybody smarter at football. Because the thing about Parcells is he was a defensive coach, right? But he also was an offensive coach. He also helped coach the special teams. He loved punt returners. He would love to work with punt returners. He was just a football coach. He would go and work with the wide receivers on, if you're running an out route here, your hand should be on, this hand should be on top, not this hand. I mean, like, he knew all of these things and as a football coach. And so then his Jersey wit and all that stuff, I mean, he would just take it to the press conference. He was hilarious.
My only regret is he didn't come back for one more year because I think that team really had a chance to do something, and unfortunately, he was just older. But yeah, the stuff he would say about Tony Romo, about keeping him on the reservation, just crazy stuff. It's just great. The lines he had was just great.
When Romo, when Romo would like underhand shovel the ball at practice or something like that, and he told him. I mean, I'm sure this story has been told a lot, but when he was throwing the ball in warm-ups, and Parcells walked up to him, and he was just like, Romo, you're a ball in high grass, and he was like, okay, coach, and he was like, you know, you're a ball in high grass, and he was like, Yeah, he was waiting for him to be like, "No, coach, what does that mean?" He's like, "Lost. That's what you are." And he would walk off,
But the players loved him. I
Yeah.
never heard anybody say bad things about him after they left.
I mean, the players that did say bad things about him loved him. Lawrence Taylor and him would get in a fight, like on the field, like a fight, wrestling match. But
look what he would say about Terry Glenn, and Terry Glenn went back and played for him. I mean,
yeah, traded for him. Yeah, Bill traded for him again, and that's just the way it is. But and it was a different time too. Even then, he had 2 or 3 different instances in press conferences where he said things that he had to apologize for, and you definitely can't say now. At all. So it's just he had to kind of learn through that too. But yeah, he made everybody smarter. It was so enjoyable, no doubt. Those were the best.
Awesome.
All right, Rob, thank you for the call. Appreciate that. All right, let's go to the text message here from this is going to be the easiest one I've ever had. Levi from Fayetteville, Arkansas. He says, "Are you a Razorback fan? Who's your favorite all-time Razorback?" Yes, Levi. Yes, I am. I guess it's not obvious, but yeah, I am. Did not go there. I grew up in that area. I've got a ton of family in Arkansas, and if you're an Arkansas fan ever, you don't. It doesn't change, and so that's. I've been a Razorback fan my entire life, and my favorite all-time Razorback. I have several, but because I love basketball now just as much as I love football. I love basketball. So Corliss Williamson, yes, without a doubt, is my favorite player. And I might have maybe or maybe not named a female dog Corliss. Yeah, and that was my dog for a long time. Corliss Williamson is my favorite player. He was, and led them to a national championship. So yeah, football. I love Darren McFadden. He was fun to watch, him and Felix together. But probably Matt Jones. Matt Jones is probably my favorite player ever. He was when he was on the field. You never knew what was going to happen. Then he would go play basketball and he could dunk. He was this tall white guy that was faster than everyone else, and he was awesome. I loved watching him as well. So I got a ton of them, but yeah, those are my favorites. But I'm pretty excited about the basketball team. I got to get through the football season here, but pretty excited about basketball too. But yes, definitely Arkansas fan for sure. All right, Armando in Mexico City, what's up?
Hey, Nick, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. So, very quickly, it's harder to get through every time, so you're becoming popular.
Well, thank you. Thanks for keeping calling, especially from Mexico.
Yeah. So very quickly, Nick, favorite guy movie, Die Hard, the original. And
is it a Christmas movie?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Definitely, okay.
Originally, it was supposed to be a date night, so you can imagine how well that went. So anyway.
Nice.
So, So, Nick, I just want to congratulate you and the whole gang because of the great coverage of the draft. It was really, really nice. Thank you for bringing that to us. I'm old school from the mid-'70s. I used to receive
Weekly.
Cowboys Weekly.
Cowboys Weekly, yep.
Yeah, and I used to get it in Mexico 10 days after the original date, so a game after
oh, wow.
the previous. Yeah. So anyway, we have come a long way since then.
Yeah.
So, originally I listened to the draft on a radio station from Dallas. It was good, but then I listened again on the website, and no comparison. They don't even hold a candle to the coverage brothers and Aisha and all those guys do. It's really good. And, and listening to the station, there were a few picks that they didn't even know who the guys were. Like, they picked out of left field the selections.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like okay draft. And then I heard it again on the website. That's the level of Cowboy nerd I am.
Yeah.
And, it was really a good draft. They spoke about each selection beforehand, so they really knew what they were doing. So I want to congratulate all of you on a very good very good job. Thank you again for all of
right.
that.
Thank you.
And, just very quickly, Nick, my random combo of today, Jimmy Jones, lineman of the 90s. So remember, it was funny with the first name of Jimmy Johnson and the last name of Jerry Jones.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Jimmy Jones. That's yeah. All right, Armando. Appreciate that. Good call. Thank you for saying that about the draft show. And they did a great job. They always do. Chris is a big part of that as well. Just from a producer side, but they do a lot of homework. They study and they kind of push each other, because it's like, well, I watched 5 guys, 10 guys, 20 guys, and and you could tell right away if you're on that show, like if you're not, if you're kind of slacking a little bit. So I think they all do a good job of making sure that they're as knowledgeable as possible, and it comes together, and it comes together there at the draft weekend where it's just a long haul of content there, like a marathon, really. Jimmy Jones, Jimmy Jones, he scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. I believe Charles Haley knocked the ball out of Jim Kelly's hand, and Jimmy Jones caught it and in midair and scored a touchdown, and that gave them the lead in that game. And I think that was kind of one of those backbreaker moments of like, all right, like now we've kind of been messing around for a little bit. We'll let you score first. We had a punt blocked and all that, but now we're here to play, and we're gonna take the ball and turn you over and make plays and score off of it. And that was one. It definitely gets lost in the shuffle of plays in that game when you're talking about the Leon Lett fumble there with Beebe chased him down, or the Ken Norton tackle there at the 1 and all that. But the Jimmy Jones touchdown, I think, was really big because that set the tone of like, all right, the Cowboys are over their little pregame, jitters. Now they're here to play and here to win this Super Bowl. All right, let's go. Is it Alan Merkel?
Yes, sir.
What's up?
Also, that Jimmy Jones touchdown was part of the 2 fastest touchdowns scored in that game.
Sure. Yeah. Very, very. You're right.
And,
you're right.
I have a story. I used to run the NFL's punt, pass, and kick competition for the local area that I worked, and I also ran the sectional competition. And by doing that, I got invited to the state competition, or the northern state competition, which was held first it was at Texas Stadium and then eventually at AT&T Stadium. And the story I have is after we did the competition before the game, but we would do an exhibition right before the game started. Well, this time we were doing an exhibition, and the Cowboy punters and kickers were warming up as well. Well, I almost got hit, and I turned around, and I see the equipment manager for the Cowboys. I can't think of his name. But we make eye contact, and we basically say, look, you look out for me, and I'll look out for you. And I turn around, and I'm not paying attention. All of a sudden, I bump into somebody, and I turn around, and it's the return man, Harris. I can't think of it. It's Dwayne?
Yeah, Dwayne Harris.
Yeah, I turn around, and it's him, and I'm like, oh, man, I got to get some proof of this. So I reached for my phone real quick, and I snapped a picture of him so I could tell my friends that I was that close to a Dallas Cowboy right before the game.
Yep, there you go. Yep. Now, he so what year was that? About 2013, 12, something like that?
Something like that, yes, sir.
Yeah. Old Dwayne Harris.
It might have been his last or next to last year with the Cowboys.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. He made. He beat the Cowboys when he was with the Giants on a kickoff return.
Yeah.
And that was like 2015. So yeah, it made the Pro Bowl, I think, that year. He was a good player. He was a good receiver as well. Kind of caught up with a lot of other guys they had there at receiver. But yeah, I thought he was a good player.
Yeah.
All right.
I also have a story about a Tom Landry Cowboy, but I can't think of his name, so I'll have to tell it another time. But
okay.
It was a pretty cool meeting him. But anyway, I'll let you go so maybe somebody else can get in that's been waiting.
All right.
But anyway, thank you, Nick and Chris. Y'all have a good day.
All right. See you later. Thank you, Al. Let's go one more caller here. Tim in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Tim.
Hey, Nick. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good. Trying to make that all StoryLine team next year.
You're doing good, man. You're rolling right now.
Yeah. But listen, I want to turn my attention to back to the draft, and back to everybody's concerned about us not having running back or whatever.
Right.
But I think the way we drafted, bigger, stronger, more physical up the middle, it doesn't really take a super back. If we can just grind this thing out, get some movement on the front, I think any NFL caliber back could literally fall forward for 3 yards if your line is going to be as good as I think we're going to be. What do you think about that?
I agree. I mean, I agree with the premise that it starts, inside out. It starts at the line. Starts in the trenches. Get that line. Get those guys. Get the holes open. Then you can have backs can come in and do well. There's exceptions to the rule, but I think for what you're saying is fix that line, get the holes open, and then the runners can run through. You don't need the Barry Sanders of the world to come do that.
Yeah, those guys are you gonna go pluck them off of trees. Right. I mean, I just think we're in a panic mode about we didn't get the running back. We didn't get the running back. I'm not as concerned about the running back as I am about fixing the offensive line.
Yep. I agree, and I think a good example. Thank you, Tim, for the call. I would look back to like 10 years ago, 10 and 9 years ago. I mean, 2014, they had the line. They drafted Zach Martin. They had Frederick. They had Leary, and of course they had Tyron Smith. And they had a really good line. And DeMarco Murray rushed for 1,800 yards, and he was offensive player of the year in the NFL. And then they don't re-sign him because they didn't value him as much as they valued their running game. So they didn't re-sign him. They had Joseph Randall. They picked up Darren McFadden, and McFadden didn't start for 4 or 5 games and ended up getting 1,100 rushing yards. And when Randall was out there, and that's a 5th-round pick. I mean, he did some nice things when he was with the ball. I mean, he had other issues that caused him from being a good player, but he was very talented. And but I think the point there is their offensive line was great. 14, 15, 16. I mean, when they had all those guys together there, and so that's what they're trying to get back to. Plug in the running backs. If you get someone special, now you got something great. But they had McFadden at the end of his career, and he still had a good year. Picked up Alfred Morris later, things like that. So I think that's what they're looking at is let's get this line retooled, and when we do, then we can. You can't just plug any back in. But I do think that they're not as concerned about it as they are fixing the line. All right. Good stuff. We got to head to a meeting here. Me and Chris do, so we got to go. But thanks for all the calls. We had 10 callers. This is outstanding. We talked about everything. I said at the start of the show, we'll talk about whatever you want. We certainly did that and more. A lot of fun. We'll be back to do it again on Thursday. For Chris Beam, I'm Nick Eatman. We'll see you next time on StoryLine.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!